Yo gang, Rod here, Futures 8-bit. Just a quick video to try and show you how to fit the SD2IEC Jockey board inside your Penultimate Plus 2 cartridge. So yeah, obviously you need Penultimate Plus 2, you're going to need the bits that come with the jockey board, which is the data cable, the clear plastic thing for the LEDs, a little ring thing, and a PCB protection board thing. Need those. Or what you'll also need is some sticky back tape to put over the old buttons. This is a top tip, otherwise you'll be looking in the carpet for those later. You may also notice I'm not doing this at my regular soldering desk. I thought if I did it in here, it'd be a little bit more realistic to what you guys get. So anyway, pop out the screw, open it like that. Yeah, trust me, just open it like that. And then you'll have your Penultimate Plus 2 PCB. And unfortunately, you do have to do a solder. I'm going to turn my rechargeable soldering iron on now. Still using this thing. It's okay. It's okay. The later model with the touch button, useless. Absolute garbage. Anyway, if we turn this board over, you'll notice you've got this pad up here marked max RAM. Now, we're going to solder to that because it's easy to solder to. That's why we're using it. It's easy. But before I do that, I'm going to take this plastic shim. You see those two caps there? That, I'm at a funny angle here, will sit over those. Okay? Yeah. And that's a good thing. And then that, the jockey board, will sit on top of those. And if you're very lucky, it will hold itself in place depending on your particular BU. This one is moving around a little bit. So I'm going to put some tape on here whilst I manhandle this. Because I'm doing this at arm's length. That's my excuse. Anyway, the wire, if you put that through the hole, and then there's that max RAM double pad. Sorry, I really should have done better camera work for this, but you can see it's got a split pad. We're going to go to the top of that, and only to the top. And you will need a soldering iron. And you will need the tiniest bit of solder at arm's length without my glasses. But that's there. And then all we've got to do is just tag it. There. I hope that that's on camera. And then that's tagged on the top half. Terribly out of focus. Before we make this all comfortable in its new box, we need to put this, that just sits in the gap there at the top. You don't need to cut this board part of the case. You do need to cut the other bit. But there we are. So that will sit. You want to get that hole in the middle lined up. So basically you just push it all the way up and it should naturally be roughly in the right place. All the other ones I've done, this has held itself in place. But the point is when you put the case together, it will grip it. Now, this little collar on there, like so. Now that, when you put the case together, once you cut the slot, I'll show you that in a minute, that will go through those two holes, center everything up, and everything's dandy. But the next thing I've got to do is cut a hole rather like that. And this is the time when I stop the video so I can get you some measurements. 23.1 and 19.8. And the depth of the slot is about 4mm. There we go. And what I've done to make my life easier, I've marked with a bit of this tape here where I'm going to have to go in to do the cut. So it's now time to crack out a file. And all I'm going to do with this little square file here is literally just go down each edge to start this off. And then I'll go in there with a large file or even possibly a blade. I'm going to even start this here on the edge of this desk. How naughty. Going to make a mess. Right, so let's see how close to this 4mm we've got. Right, so I'm just shy of 4mm there. So I'm going to go down a bit more. Right, so now I reckon that's pretty good. Now, you could use a pair of snips just to get that out, save yourself a bit of time. I would do that, but it appears I've neglected to bring any snips in this room. So I'm going to see if I can keep my fingers. That's not bad. That's not bad. I should have gone to the other room, just got a pair of snips, but trying to do this how you guys might have to do it. Oh, that's not bad. There we go. That's reasonably flat. And let's try and tidy this up with this little file. Like that. Right, that looks about 4mm. Let's check that now. Yeah, it's 4mm. Excellent. So there we go. We've got a reasonable looking slot. Let's compare that to a factory slot. I said slot. It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. Factory, version 16. Done live. There might be a few edits, but I haven't disappeared off and got another one or anything horrible like that. I'm not cheating. Always useful to have a slightly dull Stanley blade if you're working with plastics. You can just to deburr it a bit. So just take the edges off on the inside edge with your file or your blade or a combination of the two. Just so when you clip this all back together, it doesn't foul the SD socket. Right. I think that's quite good. To make the gap to let the cable come out, we're going to cut there in that groove there to match the factory version. So I'm just going to do this by eye because it's not critical. And I think you need to go in about 4 to 6mm. That's about 5mm. That's more like 4 actually. Well, that's exactly 5mm. Well done me. You'll need a little bit of mechanical sympathy when you're putting it together, because as you're pushing it together, you'll need these holes to be roughly in alignment with the little ring on the top of the case. Clip it together, watching the SD socket at the end, and just make sure that it goes over like that and it feels like nothing is catching. Put that on there, and there we go. There we go. We can see that I've got the gap in the right place before I put the screws in and stuff. So that's good news. I have done this in one cut. That's pretty good. Before you close the whole thing up, obviously you'll need the data cable plugging in. Only goes in one way. Okay, so I have finally left the room and come back with something. So technically a jump cut, but there is no magic trickery. I needed in the micro SD card. Good idea to have one in there at this point. So when you close it up, you know you've got all the alignment right. And I am going to put the bottom of the case on like that. And that will stop the PCB going any further that way. And then I'm going to just guide that wire into its hole. And with a little bit of wibbly wobbly, everything should slot together. And that looks about right. That looks about right. I'm quite pleased with that so far. Get this tape out. But that slot looks okay. Let's test it. Yeah. Excellent. I did okay there. Obviously, I've made a lot of these now with my CNC and stuff and standardized it. And getting this down to a method that you guys can do at home did give me a bit of a brain tease. But there we are. I've managed to do that okay. I've done that more than okay, actually. That socket is very central looking. This all lights up, by the way. The micro SD does its thing when you press on it, yet it doesn't stick out so far it will break. The PCB shouldn't be coming underneath here. It should just sit behind that. But there, that's basically it. This is now a Penultimate +2 with a +3 disk drive. It's like a Sinclair thing, isn't it? Yeah, +2. Did you get it? I am quite pleased with that. There's been no shenanigans behind the camera apart from me going to get a micro SD card. That Penultimate +2 now has an SD2IEC Jockey board in it. So, what do you think about that? Anyway, comments below, etc., etc. Penultimate +2s and 3s available from thefuture8bit.com. Bye.